Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, guys, based on the time zones you all are coming from. So, guys, before we start with the session, can you all please give me a quick information if you all can see my screen and hear me loud and clear as well? Perfect. Thank you so much for the confirmation, everyone. So, my name is Neeraj Kedia, and I've been working in the IT industry for more than 13 years now. So the main agenda for today's session, we are going to discuss all the concepts of Azure, what exactly Azure is, and what do we mean by chatbots. And then we are going to discuss on the Azure Bot Service, then followed by a hands-on on that particular chatbot. So let's get started. So Azure, as we know, is the second leading platform in terms of cloud computing. So first of all, if we talk about cloud computing platform, then cloud computing is what? Cloud computing is all about using someone else's infrastructure via internet and then paying the fees for the amount of time we have used the services, the infrastructure, and the amount of service or the amount of infrastructure that we have used, like what kind of infrastructure we have used and for how long we have used it. And Azure has been the second leading platform in the same domain for cloud computing. The first position has been held by Amazon's AWS as in Amazon Web Services for more than a decade now. And then second place is held by Microsoft Azure. So AWS is having a market share of around 42%, then followed by Microsoft Azure having a market share of 19%, and then followed by GCP, as in Google Cloud product, having a market share of 11%, and then all the other vendors like we have IBM, VMware, DigitalOcean, Alibaba, so they make up almost 21% of market share. And Azure has multiple services collectively, so Azure has more than 150 plus services offered in different categories, including the services available under computation, storage, databases, analytics, on the machine learning, on AI components, on IoT. So there are multiple categories of services. So initially they started with just a couple of services, and now they have more than 150 plus services in different categories that we can start with. So, so there are multiple aspects of Azure. Azure has support for PaaS solutions, as in PaaS. When we say PaaS, we simply refer to platform as a service. So there are multiple solutions, predefined functions available under Azure that on which we can deploy the servers, we can deploy and create the environments directly. Then we have the .NET compatibility offered by Microsoft, because again, .NET itself is a Microsoft technology. And then it provides the hybrid solutions for seamless cloud connectivity, where we can make use of the hybrid cloud solutions, especially for the fintech solution deployment. And then it offers a gentle learning curve because the platform is easier to use because of the intuitive UI. And one of the USP of Azure has been its SLA, as in service level agreement, and that has been the advantage for different companies all around there. All right. So Microsoft Azure, as we know, again, it's basically a cloud computing platform where we can get the access to multiple services that we can sign up and then we can get started on. So basically the main advantage of Azure is it provides the on-demand provisioning. That means we can get the access to the services whenever we want. For example, let's say when we are planning to launch any cluster of VMs, for example, we have a requirement or deploying 10 VMs, and that too for a time period, or let's say 200 hours, or just 100 hours, or even just for a couple of hours. Then we can deploy these services for any duration we want, and then we have to pay only for the time period we are going to use those services as and when required. Then it offers scalability. That means we can scale up and down the resources whenever we need. For example, we have launched a typical virtual machine and having a specific capacity. Now we want to increase the capacity of that particular instance. We can do that. If we want to change, if now suppose I say if we want to scale up the storage capacity for any of the database, if we may have deployed, we can scale it up as and when required. So there's no limitation on the services that we have deployed. We can keep on increasing and decreasing the resources as and when required. That is what we have as a feature offered under the cloud computing, specifically in Azure. And here we have to pay only for the time period that we have consumed the resources, nothing less, nothing more. And then it offers abstract resources. That means we have to focus only on what exactly we need. We don't have to focus on the provisioning part. We can simply choose the resources and the services that we need, and then we can get started without having any kind of limitation. And then it is measurable. That means we can simply measure every unit of usage. That means the entire consumption is also transparent. That means we can have a complete insight of how much resources we have used, so that we don't have any kind of, so there's no discrepancy between the customer and the team from Azure on the billing part. They are completely transparent as well. All right, so next we have domains. So again, there are multiple services offered by Azure under different domains. Like we have in computing, we have in migration, security and identity compliance. We have services under storage, networking and content delivery, under messaging as well. We have services offered under database, under management tools as and when required that we can use easily as per the requirement. So to see the list of all the services offered by Azure, we can refer to this link. So basically, we can use our own Microsoft account in case we have the access to by going through this link here, azure.microsoft.com. And if you scroll down, we would be able to see the list of the services offered under different categories. Under AIML, we have the ML Studio. Now, ML Studio offered under Azure is a really good platform, even better than all the other platforms. That is one of the USP offered by Azure. Then we have services under computation, including deployment of VMs on the serverless computing platform as a part of Azure Functions, Azure App Services for deployment. Let's just say we have Beanstalk. So there are multiple services offered under computation. Then we have services for management of containers, specifically when we are talking about the DevOps environment. Then we have services offered under IoT. So there are multiple services being offered as per the requirement. Now to sign up on Azure, we can click on free account option available on top left corner. So here we'll be able to sign up for a free account. So say we have free tier account in AWS where we get the access to some selective services. We also have a free tier access given to us by Microsoft Azure. So here, instead of getting a complete free tier access, and that too for services under limitation, we get the access, we get $200 of credit that is currently added to our account that we can use against the billing. So there's no limitation on what kind of services we can deploy here. We can simply exhaust the entire $200 of budget in 1 month so that we can start our work, we can practice, we can simply learn the platform within 1 month. And then once we are done, once we are satisfied, then we can move ahead to start our pay as you go model, where we have to pay for every type of instance or for every use case that we are going to work on. So let's do one thing. Let's log into the portal. So once we have successfully logged in, we can click on portal. Good evening, Kashyap. Good to see you back. So once we are done with the sign up, we can click on portal option on the just beside the free account here, and we would be able to log in. Now in Azure, we do need to have an active payment method. So without that active payment method, we will not be able to work on it. So here we can come, now this is the entire dashboard for Azure that we are currently looking at. And if we go to the left sidebar, we would be able to see the list of all the resources, all the category of services that we can work on. We can see the entire list of all the category of services that we have the access to as a part of Azure. So if you talk about chatbots, and chatbots are basically the automated programs that we include with the chat-based systems available on the mobile applications and on web-based applications. And instead of having a human sit behind the desk and interact with the customers or any prospective buyers, we can build a complete system, a complete automated bot that can interact with the systems. We can interact with the customers and get the job done. And in solving their queries and making sure that they are able to convert those visitors into buyers for our services or products. So basically, there are two type of chatbots available. Like we have standard chatbots and then we have self-learning chatbots. So now in terms of standard, basically we don't allow the chatbots to learn from the inputs given by the users. Whereas in terms of self-learning chatbots, or we can say ML inducted chatbots, they will be learning continuously based on the user feedback and response so that they can reply back to the customers in most effective manner. All right. And why we need to have chatbots? Because again, chatbots perform better than humans because it's a proven fact that now in a study it was found that almost 80% of the visitors query, they were all structured. That means 80% of the queries were common, and plus these 80% of queries can be solved by giving the customers a series of replies so that we don't need to have any kind of physical human being sitting behind the desk to answer and handle those queries. And basically here we can type in any intent. For example, in this current chatbot, let's say if you type in as cancel my Xbox membership. Suppose if you type in, okay, if we want to cancel our Xbox membership. Now, based on the input, the chatbot is itself going to give us multiple best solution out of it. For example, here we want to cancel or turn off the recurring billing for a subscription, or how to close our Xbox account. For example, if we choose this one, again, based on selection or based on our own input, again, it is going to give us multiple selections or multiple help pointers here. Same way, suppose if we click on yes, then the chatbot work is done now, right? So let's say here, if we type in, if we again open up the chat window here, we click on contact support. Suppose here we type in as by Windows, by Windows. So now this is what we are, this is another intent to what we have triggered the chat window earlier, correct? Now we are going to talk about how we can buy the windows, correct? So then we are, so now our intent can be, suppose, let's say controller not working with Xbox. Again, here we have a technical issue, right? Suppose here we may type in as controller not working with Xbox. Now, what is this? This is again a technical issue. Again, we have different intent defined here already that we can use for serving the end users. So that's how we, as you can see here, the entire response is also going to be much quicker, and the queries completion against, the query solving rate is also going to be much better and much quicker as well. And that's why chatbots are simply used to improvise the user experience, plus to reduce the turnaround time for the support, plus for making sure that we are, because at the end, if we are able to solve users query as quickly as possible, then we are going to simply improvise the conversion rate as well. So now to work with a chatbot, we do have a chatbot service offered by AWS, by Azure, that we are going to look at. So first of all, let's set the account. So just a moment. Now we have been discussing on when we are working as solutions architect, we have to make sure that we have a complete insight, not just on a single platform, but on multiple platforms as well, right? So we have to know how AWS works and how the Azure platform also works so that we can have a clear-cut understanding on that particular platform here. So for example, we had discussed that if we are talking about AWS, then for creation of the chatbot system, we have in AWS, we have something called as Amazon Lex, which is basically used for designing the complete conversational chatbot that you want to create. Whereas for creating the chatbots on Azure platform, we have something called as bot service. So let's do one thing. Let's say we discuss something about the bot service on how exactly it is structured. So chatbots are like the automated programs that we have in order to make sure we are automating the entire process of bot creation, plus that can be used in place of placing the humans to converse with the end customers. So when we are working on creation of a bot here, we can make use now the entire structure for Azure and for AWS is almost the same, because at the end the category of services in both the platforms are same, correct? The way of implementation and plus how they are structured, these things are different. So let's say here we want to work on the chatbot system. So here we can look for bot services under the console. So here we can open up the bot services. So basically bot services is offered by Azure so that we can use it for starting the conversation, for starting the bot creation. So in case we don't have any bot created, then here we can click on add. And here, first of all, we have to create, no, so first of all, we can click on add, and then this is going to simply create the entire bot services for us. For example, here we can create a complete Q&A bot here, or we do have multiple services offered as bot as well that we can make use of. For example, suppose if we want to work on web app bot, then we can choose web app bot. We can choose the, and for example, if you are going to create a self-learning bot, now there are two types of bot that we have. We can see the list of all the resources available under Azure platform, and that too in a detailed overview. So you can see we have the we have detailed list of all the services offered under computation, just like we have the compute services offered under AWS. We have computation services also offered under Azure, just like we have the RDS service that we had discussed in AWS. We also in AWS we discussed RDS. Same way we have the computer vision. We can choose multiple category of services as and when required. For example, suppose here, if you're looking to search for any services here, suppose here we have web app bot. We can simply search for web app bot. Again, if the service is available, then we will be able to see the service being listed for us to get started as a part of web app bot. So basically, again, this is again offered as a part of AIMS solution. And again, if you want to create a web app bot, first of all, we can click on create. Now, basically here we have to define the bot handle. This bot handle means this can be any name that you can assign for the bot. For example, let's say here we want to call the bot as our chatbot. We can name the bot as our chatbot. And then we can define the subscription model here. We can define resource group. For example, our resource groups, chatbot suppose as one. Let's define this for our own bot. Now this one is currently available here by the name of Edureka bot that we have currently defined. Now, here we can choose the subscription model. So basically, this is not something that we see when we are creating the AWS resources, or whenever we are launching any resource under Azure. So we have to choose the subscription model for it. That means that here we can choose different subscription model for different services as well that we can activate, and then we can keep it as deactivated whenever we require. Because here we don't have the access to any free tier services, correct? As soon as we deploy any of the services under any of the resources, we would be getting charged. And then we can define resource group. So resource group is same like the concept of tags. Maybe we have tags, and then same way we have placement groups there. Same way we have the resource group here. So if you're working on a specific application, we can choose the resource group in case we have any. In case we don't have any, then here we can click on create new, and then we can create a new resource group. For example, suppose this is going to be a part of Edureka app. So here we can define the resource group as Edureka app, and then we can simply associate this to Edureka app as well as per the requirement, so that when we are deploying the applications or any resources, they can be collectively part of resource group, so that we can even see what kind of resource group we are going to create as a part of the requirement. We can choose the resource group as per the requirement. All right, so here once we are done, we can choose the location. Same way when we are deploying any resources, we have to choose in which location we want to deploy the current resources. So here we can choose location. For example, let's say we are looking to deploy this bot in suppose East Asia. So here we can choose East Asia or any other region that you want this to be deployed in. And then we can choose the pricing tier. So currently we have to choose a pricing tier. For example, let's say here we have $1. Again, here we have for 10,000 premium messages, or we want to send 1,000 messages per unit. So here we can choose the pricing level. That means how much we have to spend. If we are looking for getting a full pricing detail, so here we can click on view pricing details here, and then we will be able to see the entire pricing chart. That means how much we have to spend based on the request. Now for our use case, we can simply start with the free plan here. We can choose, click on select. So under free plan, we have the access of setting 10,000 premium messages again, but again, we don't have to pay anything if we want to start sending it. Because in Azure, we do have the access to multiple components as a part of free tier access, as what we have discussed. And then we can choose the bot template. Currently, we can keep it to the same by default, the Echo bot. We can choose the app services plan location. So currently, we had to choose in which particular location the apps that are going to be deployed here, they are going to be part of. Then we can choose the application inside. Suppose here, application inside is same like we have the monitoring services. Suppose if you want to use the monitoring service, then in which particular zone we have deployed the services that we can combine the monitoring with. Once we are done, we can click on create. So we don't have any plan defined yet. So we can click on plan yet. So here we can click on create a service plan. So basically here we have to choose a service plan as Edureka bot, and then we can choose the location of this particular bot that we are going to create here. So you can deploy this suppose on Edureka bot, and here we can click on OK. So once we create this, now this entire plan is going to be used for the current deployment that we can make use of. And then we can choose the application side to be turned on and off. And then here we can click on create. So once you click on create here, again, it may take a while for this one to be validated. And once it is validated, then only we'll be able to see this one currently being deployed. So once we create any resource here in Azure, we don't get the resource directly. First of all, it validates. That means if the payment method, if the subscription plan is active or not. Because if it is not active, then this is not going to get deployed. So as you can see here, currently it says deployment is in progress so that we can work on any of the components that we want. And once the deployment is done, then we can come back to our resource, and then whatever services that we deployed here. Now in Azure, we have a good thing that whatever resources that we have worked on, that gets visible in the recent resource section, so that we can see, okay, which all resources we have currently worked on. We have a good support, we have a good UI in this regards. So currently we can see currently this is still being deployed on top. So here we can see the resource has been deployed, and now we can move to that particular resource after successful deployment. Now, once we have, okay, currently we are seeing the icons here. So currently, once we deployed it, now we have to go ahead and build it. So basically here we have to first of all build the entire blade, as in we have to work on creating a build out of it so that we can get started. All right. So now we have to simply now here we can go to build blade. So again, to download the entire source code here, and now we can simply download and test locally with a given eliminator, or we can go ahead and create as a part of a chatbot. And for making a series of question and answer around here that we want to work and integrate with AI, with this entire chatbot, we can navigate to a service called as qnmaker.ai. We have qnmaker.ai where we can simply integrate any particular data into a bot that we are going to create. Now to start working on this entire Q&A, we can simply click on create. Now here we don't have to have any kind of Q&A of coding experience required here. So here we can click on get started. And then we can simply create a Q&A service. So basically here we have to create a Q&A service in Azure. And we have to make sure that we do have an active account in Azure. Then only we will be able to work with this particular service. So we may have to wait for a couple of minutes. Okay, the thing that earlier base have been saved in different accounts. So we can create our own knowledge base. So we can come back here. If we don't have any knowledge base created, then we can create a knowledge base by going to the option available on top, which says create a knowledge base. So first of all, here we have to click on create a Q&A service. Let's open this up. Now, once we want to work on creating a Q&A service, so here we can define create a knowledge base in case we don't have any base already defined. And once we click on create a base, then here we have to click on create a Q&A service. We can open this up. Now, this is where we have to make sure that we are able to log in to Azure platform. So again, we have to specify this subscription model. We have to define the resource group. Suppose here we can define under which name we want to create this. We can choose a resource group here where we can choose the name. Let's suppose here we want to define the name, suppose as Edureka Bot, and we may have to choose the pricing tier. We want to keep it on for under free tier, or the free tier as in same as AWS. And then we can choose a search location, whether we want to be search location as in here from where we are going to index the entire data. For example, here we want to index it from Central India, then we can choose Central India or as for the location required. Let's say here we can choose the app name. So let's say here we can keep it to Edureka Bot 2. Now here we can choose the pricing tier that we have choose for free, and then we can choose the website location. So this is going to be the application location where we are going to integrate this with. Suppose, let's say the application currently is also in Central India. So here we can choose US West, or we can choose, let's say here our application is deployed in Central India itself. We can choose Central India. And then we can have the app inside that we have already have created. And now once we are done, we can click on review and create. And here we can define create option. Okay, we may have missed on some components, so let's revise those. So again, in case we make any, or in case any of the parameter is missing, we can come back and that is going to be highlighted. So again, we haven't chosen the pricing tier, so here we can keep it to free. And now we can review and create. And once you click on create, now again, this is going to validate if everything is aligned or not, and then this is going to be deployed. So currently it is being deployed. So if we go to the entire deployment section, we can see deployment currently is in progress. And after a while, this is going to be available. So as we can see here, guys, so now we have the bot available with us. So now if you want, we can go to this specific resource. Now, as you can see here, our entire keys are ready, and then we can make the API call. We can enjoy the coding as and when required. And now, once we're done, we can come back to our Q&A maker so that we can use the Q&A maker in here. So here we can see here we have the Q&A maker Edureka bot already defined, and then we can choose a language. For example, we want the language to be English, and then we can define the here we can name the KB. We can change or KB as in knowledge base. Suppose here we want to call this as Edureka bot itself, and then we can populate the entire knowledge base. Now here we can upload, basically here we can upload the entire files in which we have all the quotients uploaded here. For example, here we want to learn more about how exactly the entire SQs and the format of knowledge base should be. So here we can refer to these links to have a quick clarity on what should be the entire knowledge base format in which they need to be in. And then here we can simply use a chit chat option. So basically here, in case we want to upload our own format, and here we can upload our own format, and then we can specify the URL for it as well. That means what kind of URL we want to work on. URL as in, suppose if we have the entire file located in our own storage services that we have a link through it, then we can make use of those links as a part of the setup. And now we can define the chit chat. That means here we can give the bot the ability to answer thousands of small talk questions. For example, suppose if the users, again, they are talking about the questions, okay, from about the contact number, about support email, about a small conversation, then we can keep it to be professional. We can keep it to be friendly. For example, you may have seen something, the same thing with Siri. I hope you all must have experienced the same thing with Siri. For example, if we ask, okay, what time it is, or we want the bot to give some kind of witty replies, or it should be caring, it should be enthusiastic, or it should stick to professional. Even in some personal questions may get asked by the participants, then we can define the entire chit chat options, correct? And then we can define the entire parameters. For example, if you want to keep it strictly professional, then we can keep it professional. If you want to keep it friendly, we can keep it friendly as well. And then once we are done, we can click on create your knowledge base. So once this knowledge base is created, we will be able to use this with the bot service that we have defined, and then we can integrate it. So once we create our own knowledge base, then this is going to be deployed, and then we would be able to start working on it. So as you can see, now we have all the questions available here, and then if we want to swing a miss, so here we can define U basic, U blah. So again, these all are the options for chit chat that we are currently looking at. And now suppose, let's say here we can see we have the entire knowledge base. So here we can choose any of the entire questions that we have, and we can edit it. And once we are done, we can simply publish this. And how we can, for example, let's suppose here we want to test it out. For example, here we want to test it out. Suppose, let's say, ask me something. So again, based on this is an example of a simple chit chat. I'm much better answerer than an asker, right? So for example, here we ask them, okay, how's the weather today? So again, based on the entire conversation, again, they are going to respond accordingly. Thank you so much for joining and have a great day ahead. Take care. Bye-bye.